Why do we hide behind a facade, a mask that we choose to put on? Every morning we wake, look in the mirror and see fake. We show what we think the world wants to see. We fear our own truth. Not knowing our true self is a gift to mankind. Show the world your true divine.
So that's a poem from my book. And this is just a collection of some of my poems. But what this piece is saying, and I'll just say it from my own truth, is that, we put on these masks and we put on these outfits and we choose to become these characters of ourselves, not necessarily ourselves, because we believe that that's what the world wants to see. They want to see us like this, or like this, or like this. So we're showing them that version of us, which isn't always the true version of us. Again, because we're putting on a show. And all the world really wants to see is the you, the true you, the real you, the divine you. And at the end of the day, you've just got to be you. Everyone else is taken. Everyone is them already. So don't be anyone else. Be yourself. Thank you for tuning in, giving me your life, your auditory canals, maybe your visuals. Today we'll be talking about my story. You've probably heard on other podcast episodes, seen me post about it and write about it, but today we're going to really dive into trying to talk all the way through how I ended up being here and who I am. So I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, and I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I have a brother. We had a good life. We, went to school. We did the things that kids always do. And I played multiple sports growing up. And I was in multiple different hobbies. I always drew as a kid. I've always been an artist. And we'll circle back to that a little bit later. But the path of becoming the artist that I am took a really long road, a long, windy road. Lots of ups and downs, lefts and rights. But ultimately, being who I'm supposed to be. And, I played football. I ran track. I played soccer. I studied a lot of science classes and took a lot of different things. Went to college. Played a couple of years of football at College of the Canyons. Got my AS in biology. Then that led me over to CSUN, where I had dreams of becoming an orthopedic surgeon. As an athlete, I was like, it'd be really cool working on pro athletes one day, replacing knees and fixing them and keeping them on the field, because I love sports. I'm a very active person. So I got a degree in exercise science, kinesiology, BS. But, I didn't end up down that path, as you can see. One day, a buddy of mine said, hey, you should come try out real estate. And I gave it a whirl. My first month in real estate, I made just under $18,000. What's better? 500 grand in debt, 10, 15 more years of school, potentially bald, fat, unhealthy, because I'm studying so much to make sure I know everything about the human body and I don't mess up, or keep going down this path of real estate. So I chose real estate. It was more interesting. It was more fun. And when you're in your early 20s, it's all about ego, bravado. You're measured by your wealth, the success that you can show off. Unfortunately, that is the thing. And we all like nice things. We all like making money. But I was really led by that. And every single month I needed to make more. And every single time I made more, I wanted to buy nicer things, a bigger car, the big rims, a boat, motorcycles, houses, travel. And by travel, I mean be in Vegas every other weekend. But that didn't last very long. A couple years of doing that, making some good money, having this life that you think will never end. Really just stroking the ego of the young man the young American man. And, I'm Colombian. We're a little ostentatious as is already. So it just helped that. And 2008 hits. And we all know what happened in 2008, or a lot of us do anyway. We experienced a recession. We experienced a lot of loss of money. We experienced a huge housing crisis and a financial housing crisis. And my business went under. And I had to start selling off assets. And I had to really pivot and figure out what it is that I'm going to do and who I'm going to become. And I found myself bankrupt. I found myself broke. I found myself moving back in home. Luckily I moved back in with my brother, and we lived in Woodland Hills at the time. And for that next year, I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with my life? I wasn't going to go back to med school. It kind of crossed my mind, but that wasn't an option. I was totally disenchanted with real estate. I never did wrong by anyone, but at the same time, there was just so much corruption and so much backstabbing. It was just it wasn't a pretty industry. It wasn't fun. It was ugly. And I knew I didn't want to be that kind of person or that kind of human. And I realized that I am more than the money I was making. And I am more than the things that I had, and the diamond watches and the rims and none of that actually defined me. It's what I used to hide behind. And, for the next year, I'm like, what am I going to do? A couple people said, hey, you should try out insurance and financial planning. And I went and applied, found myself working as a financial advisor at Mass Mutual, started doing really well, excelled for the first few years in that business, and quickly found myself down this path again of money being the carrot and the motivator of this business that I was in. And financial planning and advising and that industry is a very important industry. People should be saving. People should have the insurances. People should have all of these things. But it was a real uphill battle, because I'm convincing people to do this. And then my livelihood is based off of convincing you for a need that's actually needed. But I wasn't motivated by the money. So that really wasn't what kept me in the industry. And at some point I found myself, at the time, I didn't even realize I was depressed. But I was depressed. I wasn't happy. I didn't get out of bed jumping and screaming like, let's go, I found myself getting dressed, going to the office, going through the motions, coming back home as soon as possible, and then I would escape by going to the gym. And I would train in the early afternoon so that the minute it was training time, I wouldn't give up training time. So I just end my day. And that's what got me through this for the next couple of years. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't continue down this path, even though I saw the good that the business did. And finally, one day, a buddy of mine called me up and he's like, hey, let's go meet up for coffee. I've been doing this thing and I want to share it with you. And what that was a leadership workshop, and emotional intelligence, just doing some deep dive work into myself. And it was right place, right time. I was depressed. Nothing else worked. I was escaping my life, or avoiding it, actually. So why not? Why not do it? So I said yes. And I went down this path into this class and started working myself. And I started working on myself, and I looked in the mirror and started realizing, what is it inside of me that could answer the questions or fill in the void that I'm filling with other things or trying to avoid and escape? And, the first class was a week, and then the next class was another week. And then that led to a 4-month piece of the program. And I went through that. And in the middle of the program, or more toward the end, we started realizing we're going to graduate this thing. And then we all graduate with a matching hoodie. And I'm like, I'll design the hoodie. Start sketching, making some designs for this hoodie. And then my buddy, who took the course, went in it for his own reasons, happened to have this organization where he was just painting murals up and down Lincoln Boulevard. And he saw my design and said, you know what, that needs to go on a wall. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean it needs to go on a wall? He's like, it needs to be a mural. I'm like street art? And this is early on. It's not as popular as what it is now today. And he's like, yes. So what we did was turn this into the community service project for the course, for the class. We could edit that, right?
Yeah.
And that became my first mural. And the mural was the question I was asking myself. On the left, it says, who will you be? On the right, it was all these ways of being: grateful, leader, responsible, joyful, love, worthy. And during that time where I'm depressed, I'm kind of victim-y. I'm kind of like, why, like, what am I going to do with my life? I started realizing, like, what if this question was asked earlier? And what if I realized that if I ask the question of myself and then I choose other, I can start taking responsibility for who I am, what I'm thinking, what I'm saying, and who I'm going to become. So instead of sitting there saying, you know what, I'm not worthy of this. I had the success, but now I'm not worthy of success. Or I failed. I guess I'm a failure. Or whatever, multitude of conversations based around fear. I said, you know what if that past success and that failure was a stepping stone to a future success and future failures? And what if I take responsibility and realize, I was worthy of that then, and I'm worthy of that now, and I can move forward. And that's choosing to view the world through the lens of love. So that was the first mural. And my intention was, how do I ask this question to other people? And on a wall that 40,000, 50,000 people drive by every single day, what better opportunity to have a conversation with a lot of people, besides having a one-on-one or going on stage or talking to you guys here today. And for the next few years, I started painting a mural here, a mural there. I was still in finance. I still had to figure out how to get out of that, right? We still need to make money. We still need to pay bills. We still need to rent. But I started realizing, like, there's something here to this art thing. And back to what I said earlier, how I did a lot of art as a kid. So I've always been artistic. I doodled on my notes. I doodled on my book covers. I took every art class I could in school. And my mom had us in painting classes and charcoal classes and drawing classes on weekends. So it was always there. So it wasn't like cold turkey. Where did this artist come from? But at the same time, no one says, hey, go be an artist. Just go down that path. Go be a creative. Nowadays is a little bit different, right? With social media and TikTok and YouTube and all, it's a much easier time to be a creator. It's still not easy to create, but it's an easier time. So the conversation, 20 years ago versus what it is now is a bit different. But nonetheless, it's about operating through the lens of love versus operating through the lens of fear. And I was stuck in this place of fear and depression. And doing the work and looking in the mirror is what got me through to the other side. So now that I started facing some of my internal demons and some of my doubts and insecurities, and really looking at asking that question of who will I be and how do I react, but not in a negative, fearful way, but actually be more proactive about what I'm doing and more intentional with how I'm doing it, I started looking at, there's something inside of me saying that you need to do this, that you need to go down this path of being the artist. So for these next few years, I would paint some murals. I'd go in the office, paint some murals, go in the office, until I absolutely couldn't do that anymore. But in the meantime, I knew I wanted this other path. So I had to figure out how I was going to do that. Because if I would have just walked out cold turkey with zero plan, I would have probably ended up right back into it, because I knew I could make money at it, or in some other job, which wasn't my calling and wasn't who I was supposed to be. So I still had to figure out and put a game plan together. And at first, the art that you see now and what I'm known for wasn't the art I was always creating. I would create it here and there in some of the murals, but to actually figure out how do I make a living at this, I did some projects for some brands, like paint kombucha bottles or do some things that they wanted painted on a wall or on a canvas, to realize that, I can make money as an artist. I could put food on the table. Okay, I could keep a roof over my head. this makes sense, and just kept doing me and kept sharing my work, kept putting my art out there in between all of this. And then all of a sudden, one day, seems like that, but all of a sudden they're just like, hey, we want your work. We don't want you to do this. We want this. We want your message. We like what you're doing. And we got to the point that I figured out that I could make a living. Then I stopped going to the office. I stopped going cold turkey. I just didn't go in anymore. I transitioned my clients, took care of everyone. Even my clients are like, well, finally, I've been asking you when you're going to go do this, and now you're finally doing it. But because I am so loyal, I'm just like, can I leave them? Can I leave them behind? Like I put them down this path. They're in a good place now. I'm doing finance for their family. I had that conversation. I still had to push through, but I just finally said, you know what? I have one life, and I really need to listen to this voice inside of me. And looking back at the few murals I did with my work, the impact that was creating for people on the streets, when they would take a photo in front of it, when they would share it, when they would message me and say, hey, you know what, Ruben, today I'm not a victim. And today I'm feeling happy. And today I'm going to be responsible for my life because I saw your mural, because I saw your artwork and you gave me the courage to do it. And that fueled me. And the funny thing about that is that my work is really a conversation to myself, or it's a conversation I want to have. And if, as humans, we're all mirrors of each other, we want to hear things that other people say for us and vice versa. And we're also saying things to ourselves that other people want to hear. So this is a conversation and a reminder that I needed to have, or I needed to see, that resonated with somebody else. And I had the vulnerability and the courage to put it out on a wall. And I knew with the feedback, and I knew with my inner voice and everything, like I had to go down this path. And here we are. So that was just a couple years ago. And ever since then, I've been painting murals around the world, creating art and canvases, clothing line, like anything that I can make as an opportunity to create, to share this message of live through love through any means is what I'm going to do. And now this is a new way to share it. And it's an opportunity to share this story. And this is just the unabridged, unedited, for you to just realize that anything you're having as far as a conversation in your head is possible. It's a dream, make it reality. If you've got a side hustle, see how you can make that your real hustle. If you do not love your life or what you're doing, ask yourself why and what can you do about that? Because life is too short. Life is too short, but it's never too late to reinvent yourself. I've done it a few times, but here I am now doing exactly what I need to be doing and what I love doing. I hear these conversations or these comments or people tell me, but Ruben, it's not easy to just love. What do you mean love? What do you mean live through love? Do you not turn on the TV? I'm like, yeah, the TV is a buffet of fear and paranoia. And I mean, we're on the second year of an ongoing pandemic. The politics of a new president versus the last president, what was there, war and not war, and just there's all these things that are happening. It's really hard to see love in this world, right? And it's not like people are running and gunning to show us. And just knowing that I've been able to continue to push this message forward and show it through creativity, through creating culture, through painting walls, through canvases and clothing, is just shedding a light on what actually exists, and that there is more good in the world, and that there is more love in the world. This pandemic, it hit everyone. I remember when it first came in, like I lost projects, I lost income. If I was in my old patterns, I would have been, woe is me, victim me, what am I going to go do? But once you shake that off, because of course there's a little bit of panic and doubt. That's normal. We're human. We're emotional. But at the same time, okay, let me look at this through love. Okay, what's the opportunity here? What can we learn from this? What's in the silver lining? And there's always a silver lining. There's always a learning opportunity. We've just got to get to it, see it, and get clear on it and move forward. And as long as we're looking at things and asking the question, how do I look at this through love versus looking at it through fear? Am I reacting right now, like what's happening, or can I go find a solution and be proactive? It sounds easy, but I mean, I'll give you a scenario. Someone cuts you off on the freeway. Dude, it irritates me. I get pissed off. And, it's real easy to want to give someone the bird and speed up or do all these things. I'm not going to lie and say I don't catch myself. I don't do the bird and all that, but go give them an eye. But still, now it's like, you know what? I hope they get there safe. They didn't cut me off on purpose. Maybe they didn't see me. Maybe they're in a rush to get to their wife having a baby, or they're going to be late for work and it's their last time and last opportunity of being late, or they're going to be fired. You don't know what's going through their head, but it's real easy to think that they did it to me or us on purpose. And that right there is an example of like, okay, let me look at this through love, then fear. Think through a solution versus reacting to what had just happened. And it's a constant work. It's constant evolution. It's constant battle. But the more you practice it, the more reps you get in the gym, the better you get at it. I'm nowhere near a master. And maybe by the time I'm on my deathbed, I'll be much better and much stronger at doing this. And that's my only hope. It's just I'm going to continue to practice and be the best human I can be. And sometimes I'm going to mess up and I'm going to forgive myself and move on. So what we're creating here is art. A lot of people think art's only painting on a wall or a canvas, but there's many forms of art and creativity. And this is just another way to get my reps in and flex that muscle. But it's also another form of storytelling. It's also another way to practice my message and practice getting better at connecting with human beings. And that's what I'm really excited about. This isn't my medium of choice originally, but hey, you never know. This may be the thing moving forward. But it's really cool to figure out, okay, I can design this, put it on a wall, and here's the message I'm conveying, and how do I craft that? But now I'm talking to a microphone, talking to you, listening to me, not necessarily seeing my artwork and where I'm coming from, and getting to experience, live through love in a whole different way. And being able to craft that and distill that down and tell that message and that story, that's exciting. Now that you've heard this, I have one question for you. How do you live through love? Write it down. There's no right or wrong answer. And what I'm hoping you'll realize, and what I believe you'll see, is that you're already living through love. And you're doing it more often than not. Thank you.